The United States Hot Rod Association presents the ultimate from the wide world of motorsports, Super Trax.
Welcome, everybody, to the Superdome in New Orleans as we get ready for monster truck qualifying here at one of the largest single annual U.S. Hot Rod Association events of the year. The first man up on a special S-shaped course that involves one hard left-hand turn, one hard right-hand turn, and two sets of crush cars will be Ray Perkowski out of St. Louis, Missouri, in the brand-new Invader Ford. Perkowski leaves the line rather conservatively and already runs into problems. You can see him locking up the brakes to try and make the extremely tight left-hand turn, and now tapping one of the disqualification markers. Believe me when I tell you this is going to add up for a lapse time as we qualify against the clock. Perkowski finally back underway. And still having problems as he makes the hard right-hand turn that will set him up for the final straight. Beautiful airborne launch as he crosses the finish line. The elapsed time for the new Invader Ford with problems, 41.07 seconds, and that will set the pace for this man. Rob Morris in the incredible four-wheel crazy, the rookie of the year from the 1990 U.S. Hot Rod Association season. A beautiful starting line launch, and on the outside lane, handling this course perfectly. Flawless final turn, and a beautiful launch at the finish line. Rob Morris, 26.92 seconds, will take over the pole for qualifying in this 8-truck field. The Ford from Fort Worth, Texas, heads back to the pit area as the incredible Carolina Crusher of Gary Porter brings one up for the Chevrolet fans. Not quite as serious, it appears, as Rob Morris was. Now finally getting onto the loud pedal as he moves into the final turn. And actually, Porter takes the last turn in this S-shaped course probably better than anybody. Crossing the finish line, the elapsed time for the Crusher, 27.49 seconds. The Carolina team will now take the number 2 spot, but here's the kid, Greg Holbrook from Tennessee. The Equalizer GMC-bodied rear-engine machine trying to get the number 1 spot. A beautiful turn using the staggered rear wheel steering, and Holbrook crosses the finish line nicely. The elapsed time for the kid, 26.41 seconds, and the nation's youngest professional monster truck driver ends up on the pole. Right behind him, though, Rob Morris's four-wheel crazy Ford and the Carolina Crusher. And that brings us to the Crunch of the Week with King Crunch in the near lane last season, enduring one of the most bizarre finish line landings we've ever seen. The entire front end of the truck came right off. The wheels underneath the cab nearly flipped the machine. The body worked completely off the chassis, but the machine was repaired and running 1 week later. Unbelievable ride for King Crunch. That's this week's Crunch of the Week. Super Trax will be right back with more extreme motorsports action. Don't go away. We're back at the Superdome in New Orleans with over 40,000 race-ready fans as we continue monster truck qualifying on the U.S. Hot Rod Association Camel World Championship Tour. And here's the one everybody's been waiting for. Jim Kramer and Bob Chandler's awesome, lightweight, high-horsepower Bigfoot Ford leaves the line. A nosedive for Kramer as he heads wide into the last turn. The mark to beat, 26.41 seconds. Another nosedive at the finish line, but Kramer clocks 25.88 seconds for the number 1 spot. The Fords, Chevys, and GMCs have been throwing this one around all night long, but here's the incredible Taurus that finished number 2 in the world last year. Jack Willman out of Illinois, the driver. Willman appears to be on a great one. If he can make this turn solidly, he'll have this one wrapped. Perfect turn. And a beautiful leap across the finish line. The elapsed time for the Taurus Chevy, 23.39 seconds. That will take the #1 spot back again for the General Motors fraternity. And speaking of Chevrolet products, take a look at this one. Dale Harris's incredible full-bodied 1957 Chevrolet Monster, called Casper, leaves the line. This machine is giving up about 7,000 pounds to most of its opponents, and just the fact that Harris can get this thing airborne is incredible in itself. The heavyweight moves up for the final set of crush cars. Actually, a beautiful airborne leap as he crosses the finish line, bouncing all over the place with an elapsed time of 36.63 seconds. That'll put him 6th in the field right now. But on the line, the truck that everybody has been waiting to see. Dennis Anderson's 1950 Chevrolet that has become a nationwide phenomenon, Gravedigger. On the outside lane, swinging it around the first turn. Remember, Taurus, the Chevrolet from Illinois, is in the lead on qualifying at 23.39 seconds. Anderson lines it up for the final hit. Beautiful airborne leap. The elapsed time for Gravedigger, 23.04 seconds. #1 for the crowd favorite from North Carolina. So Anderson leads the field by a solid 0.3 of a second with Taurus #2 and Bigfoot #3. That could present some of the wildest racing on the U.S. Honda Association trail so far this year. And when we return, we'll get a chance to see it and super modified mud racing. Stay with us. We're in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma at the Oklahoma City State Fairgrounds Arena as we get ready for the qualifying round for the nation's quickest and fastest indoor motorsports machines, the Super Modified Mud Racers. An 80-foot-long pit, 36 inches deep of the slimiest mud imaginable, with only 80 feet in which to stop as we get ready for the qualifying round. The very first driver up with a supercharged, fuel-injected Chevrolet-powered 1923 T-Roadster, Ken Slider and the Joker's Wild entry. Slider, a relative newcomer with his four-wheel drive, supercharged entry, weighing in at about 2,300 pounds, 2,000 horsepower on tap. It's an elapsed time competition, trying to cover the 80 feet in the quickest time possible while stopping in another 80 feet. And Slider does just that as the machine never gets the horsepower necessary to keep the machine on top of the mud. He will, however, set the pace for the field. The elapsed time, 2.57 seconds. Slider not very happy with that effort, but here comes a guy who knows horsepower. Mark Watrous out of the state of Michigan, the Rancho Shock Absorber Ford Thunderbird funny car with supercharged Ford power. On the brakes hard. He stops it in time. An incredible run. Watrous puts it through its paces, incredibly strong. The elapsed time, 1.85 seconds. A new course record. Byron Tinky out of the state of Iowa, the Bad Habit supercharged Chevrolet 1932 Coupe. Next up. Tinky on the brakes. He'll stop it in time, and a great run for the blue Chevrolet. 2.15 seconds. But man, Mark Watrous has really laid into this field. Todd Marion in the Expect No Mercy machine, which does not utilize either nitrous oxide injection or a supercharger, just fuel injection. Marion on top of the mud, locks up the brakes. He stops it with 5 feet to spare in front of the disqualification banner. The crowd likes the stop it almost as much as they like the 60-mile-an-hour rampaging through the mud. Marion seems happy with the effort. 2.153 seconds. A great run. 1,000th of a second, actually quicker than the Bad Habit entry. Here's Ohio's Chad Miller. The awesome Instant T 1927 Ford Model T Roadster with, again, 2,000 supercharged Chevrolet horses under the cowling. Staging ever so carefully with the cars on the starting line. The visor will come down, and he'll wait for the Christmas tree countdown to the green light. A lot of tire spin, on the brakes hard, again within 5 feet of disqualification, but the elapsed time won't be as strong as Miller's capable of, 2.19 seconds. And all that came from the tire spin you saw off the starting line. Here's the most identifiable mud racing vehicle in the sport. The same which took Tom Merton to 3 consecutive world championships. The Mud Patrol 1932 Chevrolet nitrous oxide injection for the new driver this season, Indiana's oval track stock car veteran Paul Schaefer. Wheels up and into the finish line poles. Paul Schaefer nets himself a disqualification. In U.S. Auto Association mud racing competition, you gotta keep it between the boundary lines, marked by the banners on either side of the track, and for that matter, the finish line poles as well. But that's the wildest run we've seen so far. Schaefer obviously okay. Look at the replay from a head-on view. It was out of shape the entire way, and when the front wheels are in the air, you're not gonna steer it. Clipping the finish line poles, the elapsed time, 2.42 seconds. Actually was on a pretty good run if it had been straight and under power past the finish line. Tom Martin, a disgusted look, still the car owner in this new 2-car team. Martin will be driving the brand new Super Trooper later on, but right now, it's the recent winner of the New Orleans Super Mud Shootout, Larry D'Antoni in the Addicted to Mud Roadster. A great run on the brakes, hard, and he's out of bounds. It looked for a minute like D'Antoni may have been able to stop the machine, but man, he ripped through the DQ line. The elapsed time would have been good enough to qualify, but only by a little bit, 2.16 seconds. And right now, in order to qualify, you've got to go quicker than 2.199 seconds. Here's Melvin Brown in the Blue Max, nitrous-injected, fuel-injected, Chevy-powered Jeep funny car from Ohio. Brown drifting around down at the finish line. You can see if you get out of the throttle, you're going to sink like the Titanic down there in 36 inches of mud. The elapsed time, 2.39 seconds. Here's a guy who's held previous world championship records. He's won national event titles. He finished number 2 in the world last year. Jim Weber in the awesome American-made. A great run on the brakes, hard, and he barely goes out of bounds. Weber knows it. He is disgusted. Literally a foot past the 80-foot DQ line, and he wastes a 1.89 second elapsed time. It would have qualified. But right now, Mark Watros leads the pack at 185, followed by a pair of 215s by Todd Marion and Byron Tinky, and a 219 on the bump for Chad Miller's Instant T. That brings us to this week's Crunch of the Week. 1 year ago on a bizarre asphalt, dirt, and crushed car course. It was this kind of performance that made Gary Porter in the Carolina Crusher think he was going to beat the legendary Bigfoot Ford. But the Big Blue machine from St. Louis made up an incredible amount of distance in the last quarter lap. They came down the front straight for the finish line dead even, and Bigfoot, with a resounding thud, took one of the closest wins we've ever seen. In just a few moments, Super Trax continues with more motorsports action. Stay with us. We're back at the Oklahoma State Fairgrounds Arena in Oklahoma City as we continue qualifying here at the U.S. Auto Association Camel Mud Racing Shootout. And here's Detroit, Michigan's Tony Ferrotti. The Let's Boogie supercharged Chevy-powered winged 1927 Ford Roadster has to go quicker than 2.19 seconds to qualify. On the brakes, hard. He stops it within a matter of inches of the disqualification line. The picture-perfect super-modified mud racing run. And the elapsed time, 2.04 seconds will qualify the machine in the Quick 4 Shootout. What a pass. Here's the Dragonfly entry of Tad Rovat, a supercharged Chevy love truck, altered wheelbase with the almost mandatory aerodynamic wing staged up. He must go quicker than 2.154 seconds to make the program. The bump spot right now, Byron Tinky in the Bad Habit Roadster. Staged and ready. Shutting off early, and it pays off because he stops it in time, but the elapsed time is good enough to qualify. The green machine runs 2.10 seconds. That'll put him third in the field, and now the number 4 position drops to 2.153 seconds by Todd Marion in the Expect No Mercy Jeep. An exceptional field already halfway through the qualifying round, determining the 4 quickest drivers that will battle it out for the Ultimate Championship. Here's the team that finished number 2 in the world in 1989. From Michigan, the Sturken brothers, Jeff and Jack, and their Ground Zero, supercharged small block Chevrolet powered S10 pickup. The altered wheelbase machine, officially the sport's quickest small block powered racer. More than enough power in this awesome machine. They've run a career best of 1.79 seconds. Right now, they've got to go quicker than 2.153 to make the program. On the brakes, hard and out of bounds. Sturken takes it too far through the shutdown area, missing the mandatory 80-foot stopping distance by a bunch. A lot of tire spin off the starting line, however, probably kept them from making a representative run. 2.81 seconds would not have been anywhere near enough to make the program. But one of the problems that they faced may start affecting the rest of the drivers. Huge ruts are now developing in the traditionally sticky and thick Oklahoma mud at this event. Here's Rick Brickeye and the Just Passing Through. Supercharged Chevrolet-powered Jeep CJ Funny Car, one of the lightest cars in competition. You can see those ruts that Brickeye is faced with. He's got to keep the car on top of the mud without falling into those ruts, or he's guaranteed to lose time. Clearing the spark plugs, Brickeye drops the visor and gets ready. Tire spin and ruts prove to be, again, big problems for Rick Brickeye. He slows to a 2.48 second run. An excellent effort, but it won't be enough to qualify for this camel shootout. The crowd awaits the next machine up at the starting line as Brickeye knows his day is done. So still hanging on to the bump spot at 2:15.3 is Todd Marion. This time around, it's the Wild Cherry entry. A rear-engine, nitrous-injected, Ford-powered mud racing dragster of all things. It would take a career best for this entry to break into the program at this point. And again, the ruts are the main concern for any driver sitting on this starting line right now. On the brakes, and a disqualification by literally 3 feet. A tough break for the Bud-sponsored entry. The Nitrous Ford entry runs 2.66 seconds. It would not have been enough to make the program anyway. The ground crew turning off the nitrous oxide cylinder itself, as the Ford team will have to go back to the pits and hope to find some horsepower somewhere. But here comes the killer, the defending champion here in front of his hometown crowd. The supercharged, big block Chevrolet-powered locomotion entry of Perry, Oklahoma's Larry Jarrett. Jarrett already saw his track record disintegrate. He held the track mark here at 1.88 seconds. Now it's a 1.85 second mark by the Ford-powered Team Rancho Thunderbird of Mark Watrous. Jarrett must go quicker than 2.153 seconds to qualify for this program. A great run on the brakes, hard. He'll stop it with 3 feet to spare. Sideways in the shutdown area. The best news, though, is the elapsed time. 1.94 seconds. Jarrett makes the program in the number 2 qualifying spot. The crowd goes crazy as the hometown boy comes through a rough racetrack to get into the field. But here's the ultimate killer. Three-time and defending world champion Tom Martin in the Super Trooper 32 Chevy. Nitrous oxide injection on a 588 cubic inch big block Chevy. He now must go quicker than 2.10 seconds to make the program. Tad Hrovat is on the bump with the Dragonfly. Martin, as always, takes his time staging up. Look at the ruts just off the starting line now. Martin's got his work cut out for him. It's going to take all of his experience to figure this one out. And we found out earlier, Tom's got some new tricks up his sleeve. One of the newest pieces of technology in super modified mud racing comes courtesy of three-time world champ Tom Martin. It's a brand new scale system that Tom helped devise that weighs each corner of each super modified mud racer. And the objective is for each team to put as much weight as they can where they think it's going to help the car most. Preston Ward with the Mystic Warrior Ford is trying to jack weight into the left rear corner of the car because that's where the engine torque is going to plant the power the hardest. Now, the computer system that runs off a transceiver actually reads out on both paper and on a screen the weight of each corner of the car. And because there are 4 different pads connected to the computer, it also reads out the percentage of the car's total weight on each corner. You have to figure this kind of information can only make these guys go quicker and faster in that 80-foot course. And right now, he's got to rely on all that information to try and qualify for this 4-car field. Now, with the engine at the proper temperature, Martin moves up to the starting line proper. The blue lights flashing aren't for show. That tells his ground crew, his father and mother, that indeed that he'll be using the nitrous oxide system on this run, and he'll need that extra 400 horsepower. The three-time world champ gets ready. Martin shut the engine down just before the finish line to avoid going out of bounds. That may have cost him. He had to go quicker than 2.10 seconds. Martin runs 2.12 seconds. And the defending world champion, the toughest racer of them all, will not qualify for the Camel Field here at Oklahoma City. Martin knows it. Shaking his head, he is not happy. The last time we saw this guy, he was driving full throttle into a 4-ton military vehicle, but here he is back. Ken Crum and the Wild Thing, supercharged Chevy-powered dragster, always one of the toughest, fastest, and lightest campaigners in this super-modified division. The bump spot still 2.103 seconds, and Crum not happy with the way he stages up. He backs off the starting line and staring intently down the course, is apparently trying to figure out how he's going to avoid those ruts. Now he's staged up. The visor comes down. The Christmas tree goes to green. A great run. He shuts down a little bit early, and it helped. He stops within 3 feet. He had to go quicker than 2.10 seconds. Ken Crum runs 1.98 seconds and makes the field. So number 1, the Ford of Mark Watros at 185, followed by defending champ Larry Jarrett at 194. Then a 198 by Ken Crum and a 204 by Tony Verrodi. But we've got mud racing and monster truck action yet to go. Don't go away. We're back at the Superdome in New Orleans as we get ready for U.S. Off-Road Association Monster Truck Elimination. Well, one thing's for sure, while monster truck action has come a long way, so have the paint jobs. And the big green machine itself pulls to the line. The number 1 qualifier, Dennis Anderson's Gravedigger, against Rob Morris's four-wheel crazy number 5 qualifier in this field. In the first side-by-side battle, they leave the line dead even. And the four-wheel crazy Ford with the inside lane on the first turn has a beautiful run going. Anderson really will have to lay on the throttle to make it up. Coming around the last turn, Anderson trying to make up the distance as they head for the finish line. Anderson sideways and into the center wall. Rob Morris hard on the brakes as he takes the win. An incredible wheel-to-wheel dash. The 1990 Rookie of the Year, Morris in the blue Ford from Texas, had a distinct advantage in the first full straightaway. But look at Anderson, flat-footing it, trying to make up the distance as he goes into the final turn. That little bobble there made him push even harder. And then airborne at the finish line, sideways in the air, into the inside retaining wall. Anderson, serious chassis damage on the green machine. An upset first-round loser. This time around, the incredible Bigfoot Ford, number 3 qualifier, takes on number 7 in the field in a Ford and Chevy battle. It's Dale Harris's Casper 57 Bel Air. Actually, Harris doing a great job until that problem as it stalls in the first turn and hands the win to the blue Ford from St. Louis. Kramer knows he's got an easy run and takes it very conservatively through the last turn and over the finish line to advance to the semifinal round. And like I said, you could see Dale Harris in the Casper 57 Chevy, despite its heavy disadvantage in weight, actually had a pretty good run going until the machine just stalled coming out of the first full turn, and Kramer drove around for the automatic win. Just a matter of keeping it between the lines at this point. And Kramer in the highest dollar, state-of-the-art Ford, will advance. The next pair on the starting line, number 8 qualifier, Ray Perkowski's Invader takes on the kid, 19-year-old Greg Holbrook, the Tennessee-based Equalizer in the far lane. And problems for Holbrook, but now problems for Perkowski. It evens it out, and a big bounce for the Invader Ford, and that will be all Holbrook needs in the Equalizer. But now another problem for the GMC with rear engine power. Holbrook somehow manages to pull a win out of a battle of errors in this Ford and GMC battle. You certainly can't fault Perkowski. He gave it everything he had, but it'll be the 19-year-old advancing to the semifinal round. Now, Taurus versus the Carolina Crusher in the final pair of round number 1. And a foul start for the Taurus Chevrolet. Another incredible upset as the number 2 qualifier goes out on a foul start. Gary Porter in the Carolina Crusher must not realize that he's keeping it flat-footed all the way around, but a very upset Jack Willman will head right into the pits. He knows what kind of violation he committed on the starting line, and Porter's orange and red Chevrolet will advance to the semifinal round. On the slow-motion replay of the start, you can see U.S. Hobbit Association starter Mike Speller signal to the Carolina Crusher. Porter signals that he is ready. Now Speller turns to the Taurus driver, Jack Willman. He signals that he's ready. As Speller's hand comes down, you can see the lurch of the Taurus Chevrolet. Just a sheer case of anticipation as the green light comes on after the truck had moved. That is a foul start loss. So the semifinals here in New Orleans will feature the four-wheel Crazy Ford against the dreaded Bigfoot and the Carolina Crusher against the Equalizer. It's a Ford and Chevrolet final round no matter how you look at it. It's all coming up. Don't go away. Now to Monster Truck semifinal action in the Superdome in New Orleans. Ford versus Chevrolet in a final round is guaranteed as each of the semis pit Ford versus Ford and GM versus GM. It's Bigfoot and Jim Kramer leaving the line right with Rob Morris in the four-wheel crazy Ford. Incredible leap for Kramer as he heads into the second turn beautifully. A little bobble in the middle of the turn, but not nearly as bad as the problems experienced by the four-wheel crazy driver who fails to make it around the second turn. The crowd goes crazy as the Bigfoot Ford advances to the final round. On the replay, you can see the incredible air that Kramer's Bigfoot Ford got on the first set of crush cars. But Rob Morris runs into problems in the four-wheel crazy machine entering that second turn, missing the turn completely as Kramer himself ran into a few problems, but still straightened it out with plenty of room to spare. Meanwhile, on the starting line, it's GMC versus Chevrolet. Gary Porter's Carolina Crusher, Greg Holbrook's Equalizer leave the line side by side. Porter with a big advantage. It's up to the kid now to make up the difference. The winner will have to take on Bigfoot. And it looks like Porter's got it wrapped. But he runs into problems. So does Holbrook. Who can recover first? It's the kid in the Equalizer advancing to the final round in an upset. Unbelievable battle that saw Gary Porter's Carolina Crusher with a huge advantage going into the final turn, and then the truck goes crazy. Looking at the replay, the start was virtually even. And Porter already started making up time out of the first turn and had this huge advantage going into the final turn. But then the yellow Chevrolet gets crossed up. Holbrook gets sideways as well. And it's Holbrook in the Equalizer that recovers from the error first to advance to a Bigfoot showdown here at the Superdome. Unbelievable battle. So that will pit a GMC rear-engine truck from Tennessee with a 19-year-old at the wheel against the best-known truck in monster truck racing, Jim Kramer and Bigfoot. Plus, we've got the four quickest super-modified mud racers coming up, as well as the Monster Truck Championship finale between the kid and the veteran. Stay with us. We're back at the Oklahoma State Fairgrounds Arena in Oklahoma City. We have qualified the four quickest mud racers, and Kris Chapman has the number 4 qualifier.
One of the mud racers making it to the shootout is Tony Ferrotti and Let's Boogie 2. Tony, what's going to be your secret to success out there?
Well, hopefully getting a good start on the line, being able to stop. The track's pretty good shape tonight. Even though it looks a little muddy, the starting line's getting better.
People have been saying out in the audience, boy, it really looks sloppy out there.
Yeah, it looks that way, but the bottom's hard. You get down to the bottom, you'll hook good, and just hope to be able to stop.
Have you been doing any fine-tuning on this machine to make it run just that much better than your competitors?
Oh, yeah, we've always done that. You got to have an edge someplace, and you got to keep on top of it.
Who's going to be in the winner's circle?
Hopefully we will be tonight, but competition's stiff, and we'll find out in a little while.
We'll be keeping our eyes on Tony Ferrotti and Let's Boogie 2.
Well, Tony has his work cut out for him. As the number 4 qualifier, he has to deal with 3 machines quicker than he, including this awesome piece of equipment. The quickest and fastest Ford-powered machine in the history of super-modified mud racing. The 1989 Ford Thunderbird funny car of Michigan's Mark Latros. The Team Rancho shock absorber machine has gone as quick as 1.71 seconds. But at this event was low qualifier with a track record 1.85 second shot. He gets first chance at putting down the number that hopefully will stand up to win this battle between the 4 quickest drivers in this event. A great run. Now, can he stop it in time? Yes, within a matter of 2 or 3 feet. Latros makes a perfect run. The elapsed time, and now the mark to beat, 2.02 seconds. The crowd loves this guy, one of the best in the business at stopping within that 80-foot distance past the finish line. That will put the pressure on the remainder of the team. However, we have just received word that Ken Crum's Wild Thing dragster has apparently run into mechanical problems and will be unable to compete in the shootout. He will be awarded 4th place automatically. But now it turns into a 3-man war, and Mark Watros has put down the first salvo in this battle. The next machine pulls to the starting line, and it is the number 4 qualifier, Tony Ferrotti, in his Michigan-based supercharged Chevy-powered roadster called Let's Boogie. It's been a long season for Ferrotti, his first year on the full national event tour. A few years ago, he gained a little bit of national recognition for having one of the quickest and fastest full-bodied pickups in the sport of mud racing. But times have changed quickly, and now it takes a tube-framed, supercharged, lightweight machine to be even remotely competitive. The mark to beat, 2.02 seconds. Ferrotti ran 2:04 in qualifying. He says the track is better. We'll see. He stops it in time. Stopping, in fact, was not even a problem. He had to go quicker than 2.02 seconds. Ferrotti runs 1.96 seconds. He takes over the pole and indeed was correct in his prediction that the track would get better as time went on. A tremendous effort for an underfinanced team that has given everything they've got to pursuing the 1991 U.S. Hobbit Association Championship. But now it comes down to the Detroit racer and this man, the overwhelming crowd favorite, the defending champion, the man who came into this event holding the track record. It's Perry, Oklahoma's Larry Jarrett, and the radical supercharged Chevy-powered sprint car appearing machine called Locomotion. Now, Jarrett ran 1.94 seconds in qualifying. He's got to go quicker than 1.962 right now. Nobody knows this track better than him. He shuts the engine off early to stay in bounds. That may have cost him the elapsed time for Jarrett, 2.08 seconds, and the defending champion goes down in defeat to a relative newcomer. Tony Ferrotti wins the super modified division, and Larry Jarrett falls short in his bid for a second straight win here at the Oklahoma City State Fairgrounds Arena. A tough break and a wild finish with the first victory of the year for the Detroit campaigner, and still a tremendous effort for Larry Jarrett. Here's the winning run. And as you can see, even Ferrotti shut the engine down just about 3 feet before the finish line and records a 1.96 second winning effort. Second place goes to Mark Watros' Ford. Jarrett gets third, and Ken Crum's Wild Thing picks up fourth. But in the meantime, we've got a showdown that could well be the most exciting of the 1991 U.S. Hobbit Association season so far. A 19-year-old rookie out of Tennessee in a GMC takes on the best-known monster machine in the history of the sport, Bigfoot versus the Equalizer for the championship dash at the Superdome. The advantage in Bigfoot as they go into the last turn. Can the kid make up the difference? He's coming around. A beautiful turn. Kramer trying to keep it, and he does as Holbrook gets sideways. The crowd goes crazy, and Greg Holbrook limps across the finish line. The 19-year-old knows he's just been taught a valuable lesson. An incredible battle until the Equalizer ran into problems right in the middle of the last turn, and for the second year in a row, the Bigfoot team wins this event. On the replay, the start was virtually dead even. Holbrook did a masterful job of staying with Bigfoot despite the fact that he had the outside lane in the first turn, but he made up all his time on the inside turn of the last run, but spun it here. Even the independent front and rear steering couldn't help him. Kramer drives around for this sideways landing and picks up yet another victory for the St. Louis team. But stay with us. We'll talk to our winners when we return. Well, certainly there are few moments as sweet as those which come right after a racer's first victory of the season, and Kris Chapman is with Tony Ferrotti.
How's it feel to win?
Good. Feels real good. Hopefully luck's changing and can keep going this way.
I know you've been having a lot of problems with stopping so far this season, but yeah, you didn't have problems out there, and it was a real bad track. How'd you do it?
Well, the car come off the line good, and something just didn't feel right halfway down the track, so we got off the gas, and we didn't get off it soon enough, and it stopped.
He says it perfectly. He got off the gas, he did it soon enough, and it stopped. That was what it took, plus plenty of 1-second horsepower for Tony Ferroti to pick up his first victory of the 1991 season. And likewise, the initial meeting between the Equalizer and Bigfoot turned out to be one of the biggest and best finales so far this season. You were the very first man who was the first professional monster truck driver, and you've always loved what you've done. You've always been the man who made the innovations along with Bob Chandler. You're the man who guided this sport. But you know as well as I do that there are a lot of these 19-year-olds coming up that are gunning to take you out.
Oh, yes, you know, we started out, and actually Monster Truck Racing actually started right here in the Dome, if you remember. This was the first bona fide monster truck race ever put on was here. Bob Chandler's been out there trying to perform for the people, try to get them what they want to see, try to keep ahead of the game, try to make the sport safer and faster, and I think he's done a great job doing that. I'm just proud to be a part of the Bigfoot organization, be able to drive for them. These guys are tough. You have to work for your wins, and they're more fun if you have to work for them.
An incredible job. Congratulations, guy. The crowd loved every minute of it.
Always glad to be here at the Superdome. This is the first place for monster truck racing. It's the best place.
You didn't cut him any slack until you ran into problems in the last turn. What happened?
Just lack of experience. He's just been doing it so much more years than me.
Well, that's being humble. There's no question about that. It didn't look like you oversteered it, though. It looked like you just had a mechanical problem.
No, that concrete's slick. I went there and started sliding and couldn't correct it.
You think it's going to turn into a deal where you're going to be chasing Kramer all year long?
I sure hope so. He's going to look out.
He will, believe me. He did an incredible job, young man, to get into the final round. Great job.
We'll see you later.
Certainly hope you've enjoyed the show as much as I have. We'll see you again next time. I'm Kris Chapman.
On behalf of myself, Bret Kepner, thanks for being with us.